Happy New Year, everybody! Welcome to a channel update that is going to be a look back at 2020 and a look forwards into the coming year for the channel. We have many things to talk about. We're going to do a review with the channel stats and everything, talk about what went right, what went wrong for everything last year, and a bit about how the year went for me personally. We're also going to talk about, well, the coming year, what's going on with all the series, and yeah, all that stuff. So, the year that everybody wanted to be over is over. How was 2020 for me? Well, really awful, and at the same time pretty good, depending on which aspect you look at. For me personally, it's been a pretty bad year, a really rough year actually, we'll get to that later. For the channel, however, it's been pretty good. 2020 has definitely been the year of legacy from my point of view. I was invited at the very beginning of the year. It was very clear to me at the very get-go that one, this was an opportunity I could not miss. I've been looking for something like this for a long time, and there hasn't really been any large servers that have been open to taking on new people. Hermitcraft is pretty close, and Hermitcraft has been pretty alone lately. So I jumped onto Legacy despite knowing the second thing, which is I had nowhere near enough time for it. My invite came very late in the process. I think I was either the last or the second to last legate to join, and everything was basically set out. The seed was picked, the boundaries of the districts were drawn. All I had to do was jump on and start playing, making content basically, which was great. Legacy had a, rocky time. I think we all hoped it would do better than it did for the beginning. From my channel point of view, it did well. Not spectacularly well, but approximately as well as I would have, expected. For many of the larger channels, it really didn't fit with their audience, and it didn't do so well. And that meant that some of the channels stopped making content, and it sort of spiraled. Things were, for a while, looking pretty bleak for Legacy, I must say. So we got together, we started talking about what to do, we started talking about inviting new people, we started talking about miniseries, we started talking about do we end it and go to Season 2? And what we came up with was what you now see as Season 2, including the little sidetrack into the Chosen Challenge that we had in between. From my point of view, I was a much larger part in planning this. Many of the core principles of Legacy Season 2 were at least partly my suggestions and my implementation. I suggested that we should focus much more on community and focus a lot more on making Legacy stand out special as its own thing, not just as our individual channels. Logical Geek Boy made most of the website. It's absolutely brilliant. I've done a lot of the in-game server parts of it, such as the mod that communicates advancements to the server, as well as all the data packs for the chaotic events. And I must say, I'm super happy with the results in Season 2. I feel like we really made the right call in switching over, ending Season 1 very early, but moving into something that had much greater chance of success, and it has really filled that success, at least this far. Personally, I'm having a blast playing on Legacy and blast making content from there. I think through this year, a lot of my best replay mod work has been on the Legacy server, and I'm having a lot of fun just playing on there as well. One more thing to mention about Legacy is that it seems to have brought in a new class of viewers who are more interested in my cinematic content, in my Let's Play content, just in stuff that isn't just plain news. Which is great to me, because the news videos they're great because they lead people to the channel, but they're also out of my control. Well, mostly. I make news videos when there is news to make videos about. Not so much when I want to make videos, which is a blessing and a curse, but in terms of running a channel, it's mostly a curse. So let's talk about the channel statistics. As we were celebrating New Year's Eve at the dawn of 2020, blissfully unaware of what was to come, my YouTube channel had 28,800 subscribers. Not a bad number, but growing very slowly. As we wrap up 2020, we are now at 44,500 subs, which is a really good improvement. Somewhere when we were doing really well at sort of the end of November, I was really hoping that we would hit at least 45,000 and maybe even 50,000 before the end of the year, but alas, that was not to be. Still, 44,500 is a really good number, and I can only hope that the channel keeps rising the way it has. In terms of Twitch, the improvement is even more dramatic. At the end of 2019, I had 2,158 followers. We now have almost 5 times as many, 10,532. And of course, I have to mention the great raid that happened. If you're only following this channel on the YouTube side, you might not have seen it, but there was a massive raid that came in as Elrich, who was hosting the Spanish restream of Minecraft Live, raided the channel as I started streaming, which caused basically every on-screen display I have of events to go absolutely nuts. That was a 15,000 person raid. Another theme of the Twitch year has been my quest for Twitch partnership. For those of you who don't know, Twitch partnership is sort of an upgrade to the affiliate status that I had before, which unlocks a whole bunch of things, including guaranteed transcoding on every stream, lots of new slots for emotes, and a lot of other things. This was, with no real explanation, denied in 3 different applications, despite the channel appearing to meet all the required numbers. That was an incredibly frustrating time, but I am very happy to finally have hit that Twitch partnership. And the channel has kept rising since. I've focused a lot on Twitch this year, which you may have noticed if you only follow the channel on YouTube. It is a lot more interactive, both with viewers, but also I've especially enjoyed the closer connection that it forms to other content creators, other streamers. That goes, of course, especially to the other legates, but also to some members of the speedrunning community, especially then Thunderful, and to Joel Dagan of the Spawn Chunks podcast fame. Lots of different raids and joining in, hanging out in other people's streams, and just generally being more connected than what you see on YouTube. I also want to mention another thing that has been really great to see for me, which is the amount of smaller channels that seem to thrive very much surrounding my channel. That especially goes for Thomas the Space, the Eli Myth, and the Oscar. There are a lot of smaller channels out there that really have high quality, and I know how much of a struggle that has been for me when I was smaller, and I really do feel proud of promoting these channels. So if you don't follow those channels, both on Twitch and on YouTube, here is another call to go and subscribe to them on YouTube and follow them on Twitch. A final statistic kind of thing is, let's talk about money. It's a tricky subject. I don't want to talk too much about the economics of the channel. At the same time, I do want to be transparent. So the big thing of this year, I would say, is that the channel is now large enough to break even. I'm no longer kind of actively losing money on running the channel. I've made a lot of investments into gear and other things over the years, and I'm now at the point where I'm kind of earning that back a little bit, which is really, really nice. So basically, at this point, the channel costs me all my spare time, basically. But I'm at least not losing money on it. Let's talk about the specifics of different video series, and of course let's talk about the news videos. I've focused a bunch over this year to really up the quality, and the end result has been, better videos, but about the same level of views. It still takes an enormous amount of time to make them. I've learned a bunch that will be applied on especially the next big update video to hopefully make that a little more successful than the 1.16 one. But they'll keep going into the new year, of course. And I'm thinking about some changes to the snapshot videos, but I'll be asking more questions about that to come. In terms of map making, I had a pretty good year. I released the 2D Minecraft pack, the social distancing pack. We played that a bunch in streams, and I know several people have played it both in multiplayer and in hardcore mode. But the big one was the Chosen Challenge, which now, with the elimination mode, has seen a little bit of a broader audience and has been played by a lot more players, which is really nice. The other thing that I've been working on lately has been the Epic Weapons data pack. That is just in its infancy still, so it'll be interesting to follow that one along. Then we also worked on the advancement pack that kind of got stuck and that hasn't been updated to the 1.17 release, so that's a little bit of a failure. And on the same kind of side, entrapment really hasn't moved much forward, which is something I really like to get back into as well. Let's talk about Triple H. Triple H is kind of the suffering series as always. The Season 3 conundrum of it falling behind, of course, got even worse with me signing up for Legacy and not having time to edit them. They got ridiculously delayed, and then got delayed even more, There have been several occasions during the year when I've planned to have time off to be able to edit more Triple H, but then other events have happened and I've been forced to not do so. At the very least, we finished off Season 3 and we're moving along through Season 4 now. One interesting thing to note here is that Triple H is no longer the sort of star crowd pleaser that it once was. It has fallen way behind Legacy and is now bringing in less than half of the views of a Legacy video. So I don't know that I'll be continuing another season after Season 4 in this format. On the side, I've started doing other things, so there is still some Triple H content that I want to get through, especially a summary of all the Nether Start Triple H runs that I've done. Kind of a best moments kind of highlight rather than the storytelling highlights that we've seen this far. But I don't know when that will happen. That will be coming down the line. Now let's talk about the year as it has been for me personally. And I think it's fair to say that it's been pretty awful. My year started off with me taking time off to, like I mentioned, edit Triple H and just, get some stuff done. I really wanted to finish up the project in the attic, which has been running for over a year. The renovation up there meant that we had basically everything that we wanted to store in the attic all over the house, which meant that we were living kind of cramped and not nice. So I really wanted to finish that off, but then, as you know if you've followed the channel for a while, I had a pretty bad accident when the ladder up to the attic collapsed as I was climbing it, making me take a pretty bad fall. Hurt the muscles in my back pretty severely, ended up in basically confined to the sofa for a number of weeks, and then got told that my way to rehab was by moving a lot, by walking. So I started walking as much as I could, which obviously took a lot of time, and that also made the channel part of my existence kind of struggle. Like, if you take at least an hour every day out of my time just to go walking, usually more like 1.5 or 2 hours, of course that was great for my health, but it also took 2 hours out of my day that I could not spend making videos anymore, and that actually really made the channel struggle. Second part of this obviously was that COVID hit. We completely isolated ourselves, and that made me sit down a whole lot more. My back is in a state where it hasn't really fully recovered. It is not hurting, it is not damaged, but it is super weak. And that's a problem that I've dealt with all the rest of the year. Even before this, I was slowly kind of getting out of shape due to the changes in my life the last few years. Basically, since I met Shrennen and got more of a family, kind of my exercise and workout time basically turned into family time instead. And especially after we moved, we have not had any real place for putting up my exercise equipment, and also some of it broke during the move, and I haven't been able to replace it, so that's been an ongoing problem. Through this, I've also gained a bunch of weight, which has been a problem. For the first half of the year, I was pretty strict about my diet, lost a bunch of weight, things were going pretty well, and then during summer, I would say I came down with a pretty bad cold. And let me just chime in here and say that it was not COVID. It's possible for people to be ill still without it being COVID. Every time I say that I'm ill, I get a lot of people doing hobby doctoring from the other side of the world based off of a single comment in a video. Please do not do that. This was not COVID. I have been tested for COVID. It was not, so please stop telling strangers on the internet that they have COVID. Anyway, I digress. I got a cold, and in conjunction to that, despite sticking to my diet, my weight loss kind of stopped moving as well. And at the end of that, it meant I just couldn't do it anymore. It really sucked sticking to a really boring, strict diet and not having it actually have the intended effect. So that leaves us at the end of the year with me being basically in the worst shape of my life, gained back a whole bunch of weight, and just being completely out of shape. So I've started exercising again, got back on it, really started building my strength, building my cardio back up into shape, so that I can then, with a little bit more muscle behind it, actually lose weight again. I'm not focusing on losing weight right now, only on trying to get back into shape, back into having the energy to do things physically. That was the good part, and then 2020 had to end off in just the same manner as it begun. I was preparing some potatoes for our New Year's dinner on a kitchen mandolin slicer when the sort of grip slid off the potato that was in there, made me jam my finger right onto the mandolin blade and cut a pretty sizable gash into the ring finger on my right hand. So after starting the year with a pretty bad accident, I now wrapped up the year with another injury. On the surface, this one wasn't as bad, I suppose. My finger is now wrapped up. Doctors chose not to stitch it, but it should heal over, it should heal fine. My body took it really poorly, actually kind of passed out for a while we were trying to dress up this wound at home, which is kind of scary. But now it's packed up, it's not hurting anymore, it's just annoying to me. Can't really effectively type, and is why this video is coming out today rather than on New Year's Day as I had planned. Pretty much took me out of commission for a couple of days. I've just been relaxing, doing nothing that really was strenuous afterwards. Later today or tomorrow I'll be able to take off this initial packing and just dressing it up with Band-Aid, and then we'll see how it looks. But let's just say that my New Year's Eve plans got a little sidetracked by the need to go see a doctor. So that's my story of 2020. Obviously, we can't really go further without mentioning COVID and what's going on around it. My fiancé is a little high-risk group, so we have been extremely strict about sticking to ourselves, not doing anything. We've cancelled all our plans, basically. Cancelled everything, done nothing, not seen my family. Haven't seen my father or my brother in God knows how long now. At the same time, Sweden's response to COVID has been appallingly bad. I don't know that I want to get into it, but Sweden has a very collectivist and conformist culture, making all kind of discussion about this not very good, let's just say. So this all culminated just the other week with rules and restrictions being tightened, while then our top politicians all went out shopping and went for holidays and stuff. It's quite appalling, really. I am extremely disappointed in my country and the way we have dealt with this. And just to give you kind of the scale of the incompetence we're talking about, we are just now coming around to slowly realizing that, hey, masks could actually maybe help. That's where we're at. Of course, not everything was entirely awful. I got engaged to my girlfriend. We're going to likely get married while still in isolation and all kinds of unceremoniously boring, and we'll celebrate later when it's possible to celebrate, but still cause of joy. Alright, so what about 2021? Well, I have to start by mentioning a series that I keep getting questions about, the ill-fated Custom Worlds tutorial series. For some background, that series ended up in a really weird place. I tried a thing with it where I said that each episode would have a guaranteed working version attached to it, and that the information in that episode would only apply to that version. That completely failed. I keep to this day getting questions about, like, why doesn't this work? And people obviously do not listen or read that information, which makes it really tricky to just continue that series. So after thinking a lot about how to deal with this, what I think I'll do is I'll sort of reboot the series, starting over with the same kind of info as in the first two episodes, but readapted for the final release of 1.16.4. Those are going to be linking towards examples in a GitHub repository instead of just some downloads, and those examples I will then update as well. This means that we'll have a separate series of Custom Worlds tutorials, and then separately from that, news videos for what has changed for World Gen between two different snapshot versions, for instance. And that means that those pieces will also be broken out of the regular news videos. So you'll have news videos about gameplay updates and normal other tech updates, Custom World tutorials, and then Custom World news videos. That's what I'm hoping to get at, but obviously this is a bit of a bigger commitment to me because it means anytime I make an example for Custom Worlds, I'll also need to commit to upgrading it whenever Custom World data changes. So that's where we're at. That's why this is taking a little bit longer to try to get back into, because I want this to be a useful series going forwards. And right now, the first two parts that are out there are not as useful as they should have been. Obviously, Legacy is going to keep going. I'm loving Season 2 right now. I have in the past and will in this coming year as well put down as much energy and effort as I can to keep Legacy going strong. I strongly believe in Legacy as a concept and as a group, believe we can be successful, but it does require persistence and effort from us, and I'm willing to put that in. Other things, HHH, streams and challenges in general, basically, I guess. As you know, if you follow my regular streams on Sunday, I've taken a break from the HHH speedruns for a while. I got really discouraged by how incredibly bad luck I had with the random seeds, and the kind of straw that broke the camel's back was the current world record run, which is a super lucky seed that is, in all honesty, not played the best. It's really discouraging, and I just needed a break from it. I do not know what the future will hold. Maybe I'll just come back to that. HHH as a concept has grown really nicely since I sort of kickstarted it. I know I was not the first to run it, but I feel like I'm kind of the person who popularized it and made it accessible, to the point where it's now actually got, just this other week, its own category on speedrun.com, which is it's really encouraging. I'm still enjoying the concept a lot, but the speedruns as they were really just got to me. What I'm considering is trying to do an all bosses run, do Wither, Dragon and Elder Guardian, and do all of that in HHH mode, which would then be a little bit more of a long form thing. But I don't know. Right now I'm working on playing through the 2D Minecraft challenge in hardcore mode, and I kind of want to finish that before I do anything else. I do want my Sunday streams to be challenges and stuff, but there are plenty of those. I don't necessarily need to only do HHH, even though I know people love that challenge. One more thing for the coming year to talk about is the Charity Limestream. The way I have that set right now is for a late March time slot. That's the kind of place where I've tried to get that to stick. I hope I can get that done this year and get it prepared. Obviously last year everything went crazy and it was a little hard to set that up. I still have the same idea for a Limestream challenge as I had last year, and I hope that I'll have time to implement it. It requires a custom mod to run this challenge, so I really hope I can get that sorted this year and get it set for a late March timeframe for the Charity Limestream. Speaking of charity and streams, coming up just starting this weekend, starting tomorrow I guess, is Awesome Games Done Quick 2021. I actually have some time off. I intend to relax and watch a lot of the GDQ runs. If you're into speedruns or just fascinated by all things games as I am, then I really recommend watching that. That's at twitch.tv/gamesdonequick. It's also in my auto host list on Twitch, so if you go to my Twitch channel you can usually find it there when it's on. I'm also going to try to use this time off for more editing, catching up. Obviously, not being able to properly type with my finger isn't helping the situation, but I'm going to try to catch up on as many things as possible. I also realized that I've done this several times over now, where I say, I'm going to take some time off to, catch back up on some video stuff. And it tends to be less successful, because I kind of fail to realize that I also need some time off to just rest. So I'll try my best. I don't know exactly, but, Legacy will definitely keep coming, because I just enjoy that too much to stop right now. But all the things that are a little more grindy, a little more work-like, might take a backseat. I hope not. There are a lot of things I really want done on the channel, but there's also just so much I can do in a day. And at the end of the day, I'm also human. And especially a human that needs to sort of take care of his physical vessel a little bit right now. Can't exercise right now, which annoys me a lot, because I have this, packaged up finger. But as soon as that's healing well enough to exercise, I'll be back on that grind too. Really wanted to take this time when I have time off to really grind through some exercise, and it really was paying off. But yeah, I want to get back into that. And then, who knows what 2021 will hold. Vaccines are coming, maybe we can start getting back to, normal life. It'd be lovely. It's going to take a long time though, and yeah, I'm ready for that. And so that's how we wrap up a year and look forward to the next one. 2020 sucked in many ways. Let's hope we all have a better 2021. I wish you all the best, and as usual, thank you so much for all your support. None of this would be possible without the amazing community surrounding this channel. I am humbled and grateful as ever. This is slicedlime signing off for the first time in 2021.